Hey, good day, everybody. My name is Staff Sergeant Marc Limon. I am a recruiter for the Kansas Army National Guard, and today I'm going to talk about the 2023 Kansas Army National Guard Minuteman Scholarship. Here is the agenda for the presentation. As you can see, we're going to cover several topics, and to keep the presentation relatively short, there's going to just be a brief overview of some more complex topics, namely the ROTC, the Reserve Officer Training Corps, and SMP, Simultaneous Membership Program. That stuff will come up during the presentation. If you have more questions about those, please reach out to me and we can have that conversation for sure. So what is the Kansas Army National Guard Minuteman Scholarship? The Minuteman Scholarship is specific to the Army National Guard. There is money allocated to the Guard from the United States Army Cadet Command every year, so we can give out these scholarships. The scholarship is designed to generate interest and bring more applicants into the Army Reserve Officer Training Corps programs at those selected schools that have that program. And what it does is it provides an additional financial education benefit to the recipients of the scholarship, right? Those interested in applying for the scholarship are interested in military service, part-time military service, and they're interested in pursuing a career as an officer in the Army National Guard, right? And then there's a brief overview underneath of what the ROTC is, right? So it's our nation's premier officer production program. It exists at those four-year institutions and allows students to train to become Army leaders while attending college. So it's like a class and a program that you do simultaneously while you're in college, and it doesn't matter what your major is. Your major is independent from participation in this program. And the eligibility requirements. So there is a minimum GPA, both for high school and college applicants. This presentation is going to focus mainly on the high school applicants, so it'll be the seniors, right? You need to have at least a 2.5 cumulative GPA. You have to have minimum testing standards. So if you have an ACT of 19 or an SAT of 850, we can work with that. Or if you have an ASVAB general technical score of 110, that works as well. So they do not have to be in combination. It can be any of the three. You must be a U.S. citizen between the ages of 17 and 28. Again, primarily this presentation is for high school seniors, but we do have the availability for personnel who are prior service and non-prior service that are not high school seniors to participate in the application process. You need to start college in fall of 2023 or in the spring of 2024. And last and definitely not least, you need to be either enlisted into the Kansas Army National Guard or eligible to enlist into the Kansas Army National Guard. And time for the meat and potatoes of the presentation. What are the benefits of the Kansas Army National Guard Minuteman Scholarship? Right, so this scholarship is awarded in different links this year. So there is a 2, a 3, and a 4-year scholarship that are awarded to applicants. With that being said, personnel who are awarded the Minuteman Scholarship do not have to attend basic combat training nor advanced individual training. That's the job training that an enlisted soldier going through that process would have to attend. It allows them no additional break from school. So you can graduate high school, have your summer to yourself, immediately start that next semester and bypass your BCT and AIT, with the idea that your ROTC participation will cover that training requirement, right? Because you will be a member of the Kansas Army National Guard, you can use this benefit in conjunction with the state tuition assistance, which is a National Guard only benefit that covers your tuition and fees to any of the state schools, the public schools, 100% free, right? That covers all of that totally, up to the cost of the most expensive state school, which is KU at the moment. You get $5,000 a semester for room and board. You get $600 a semester for a book stipend. You get a $420 a month while you're in class cadet stipend. And then when you're contracted, once you have contracted through the ROTC program, which will happen depending on the length of your scholarship, you start making additional money when you do your 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks in the summer with your unit. So instead of making approximately $250-ish a month as a brand new private, you're going to make that $364.04, and that's that's for the length of your contract. And of course, this can only be used at those institutions that have ROTC programs, and that's what we have next, right? These are the eligible schools within Kansas that have ROTC programs or satellite ROTC programs. All right, if you're interested in applying for the Kansas Army National Guard Minuteman Scholarship, there are 3 big deadlines that you need to be aware of. 2 what I'm going to call hard deadlines, and 1 more of a soft deadline, and you'll see why there's a little bit of leeway with the 3rd. So the application deadline, you have to have your application complete and submitted to the state officer strength manager through your Army National Guard recruiter by midnight, Monday, February 13th, 2023. So there's not a lot of time between now and then to complete that whole application packet. Once those are submitted and everybody is vetted to make sure they have everything that is required, the Kansas Army National Guard is going to hold those in-person interviews on Saturday, February 18th, 2023 in Topeka. They will determine the time once they get closer to that event, but you will have to sit down, do a face-to-face interview, and again talk about yourself and your goals and what your desires are. Not only in the Kansas Army National Guard and with becoming an officer in the Army Guard, but your desire to participate in the ROTC program and receive the scholarship. So again, with our soft deadline, there is a lot of coordination that you're going to have to do, not only for the application process, but definitely for some eligibility process, which we'll talk about here in the next slide, that you will have to work through with your Army National Guard recruiter. Even when we are working quickly, that process does take some time. So in speaking with some of my fellow recruiters, we suggested that you sit down with your designated Army National Guard recruiter no later than Friday, January 9th, 2023. That's going to give us enough time to work through, again, what we'll talk about here in the next slide, through that process and deal with any potential hiccups or issues through that process. And of course, we're going to get into the application process. You're going to have to complete the 2023 Minuteman application form. That's relatively easy. You're going to need to prove your ACT scores or your ASVAB GT score, and then draft a letter to the board. Again, your hopes, desires, dreams, and wants to be in the Kansas Army National Guard, to participate in the Reserve Officer Training Corps program, and of course to receive the Minuteman Scholarship. It is optional that you have some recommendation letters. I would encourage you, if you're working with me, that is not optional. Provide at least 2 to 3 recommendation letters. It's always helpful. And then you're going to need to coordinate with your recruiter to complete the Cadet Command Physical Assessment and the Kansas Army National Guard eligibility documentation. The Cadet Command Physical Assessment is relatively easy. We're going to measure your height and your weight, and you're going to do a quick physical training assessment in addition. It doesn't take very long at all. The eligibility documentation process is quite a bit longer, and we will get into that in the following slide. And this is why, if you're interested in this scholarship, we suggest you meet with your Kansas Army National Guard recruiter as soon as possible, as this process can be rather lengthy. Step number 1, you're going to have to complete an enlistment packet. Depending on how much you know about yourself and your family, could be relatively quick, could take quite a long time. It's detailed demographic information about yourself, about your residences, about your education, about your family, and character reference information. We need copies, and you need original copies on hand of your driver's license, state ID, birth certificate, social security card, high school transcripts, and if there is any issues on the legal side, legal documents pertaining to those issues, and again, any issues on the medical side, medical documents pertaining to those issues, which unfortunately with those two particular areas, sometimes it takes a while to get that documentation on hand. Of course, you need to pass an Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery, and you have to complete the Military Entrance Processing Station, or what we call MEPS medical exam. Again, it just takes some time to get this part done. It's not something we can do quickly or within a week's time frame. That's why we say meet with your recruiter as soon as possible. All right, that is the quick down and dirty of the details of the 2023 Kansas Army National Guard Minuteman Scholarship. If you are interested in learning more, or if you are interested in starting that process, call or text me now, 785-806-2144, and we will coordinate a time for you and your folks and I to sit down so we can hammer out the details of this process. Also, don't forget to follow me on my socials, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat handles are right there. And if you're super shy and you want me to reach out to you about this, you can go to the QR code and fill out that questionnaire, and I will get back with you as soon as possible.